Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, devils of all ages, we are back for a little bit of a different episode of Devil's Den today. Today, we are going to be taking a look at the Devils so far this season. A little bit of similar of of our first episode, Devil's Den episode 1, the roster unveiled. If you haven't taken a look at that, go back, take a watch. It was a fun time. Today, we are going to be looking at the first 20 or 21, 22 games so far this season. I wanted to do a Devils a 20 and 20 video. Unfortunately, I wasn't feeling great, so I wasn't able to make a couple videos for the last, I think, 2 games. But I'm back, and I'm ready, and I'm hot as can be. You guys are going to be getting two Devil's Den videos today. One which is going to be this video, kind of breaking down the more analytic part of the game so far for the New Jersey Devils this season. And then another video tonight as we play our rivals from across the Hudson, the New York Rangers. So, let's jump into this one. What I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of do what I did with episode 1, is I'm going to start with our defensemen, and I'm going to kind of work to our forwards, and we'll kind of look at how everyone is doing from a player by player by player thing, and then we're going to go as a whole team and kind of look at how we're doing so far. So, first and foremost, we're going to be starting with Dougie Hamilton. So Dougie Hamilton so far has played 22 games this season. He's played all season, hasn't had any injuries. Fingers crossed it stays that way. So, Dougie Hamilton has 6 goals, 10 assists for 16 points so far this season, and he's already contributing in a big way. He's had some big goals, overtime goals, tying goals. He's really meshing well with the Young Devils core and meshing well with how Lindy Ruff wants to have him played. Now, a statistic that I always look at when I'm looking at how defensemen are kind of doing here or there is defensemen's plus minus. Are they a liability? Are they in the minuses, or are they producing more defensive content so that we're not getting scored on a lot of the time? And what I can tell you already is Dougie Hamilton is a plus 15 this season. I mean, what more can I say? He's a plus 15 this season. I'm pretty sure the Devils are plus 32 this season, which means he's been on the ice for half of the goals that have been scored this season. Dougie Hamilton, again, 22 games played, 6 goals, 10 assists, 16 points in 22 games, plus minus of 15. He's playing great. He's doing great. Next up, we have... Oh my god, why can't I get him? Ryan Graves, who has really turned his game around from the beginning of this season to now. I know in earlier videos I took the piss out of him quite a bit and mocked him and kind of, gave him a hard time early in the video, saying how he and Severson couldn't be trusted. I didn't like his play. But as of right now, Ryan Graves, again, hasn't been injured at all. 22 games played this year. 3 goals, 5 assists for 8 points, which might not seem a lot, which I understand he's a defenseman. However, his plus minus this year is plus 18. So he's doing even better than Dougie Hamilton in terms of when we're producing offense and being able to keep the puck out of our net defensively. He is a plus 18 this season. I believe the first half of the season, he was something like a -2 or -5. He has really turned it around, and if he can continue playing the way he has, he's going to be amazing down the stretch. Really consistent player. Hopefully, as we go along and make our way into, even January and February. So that's Ryan Graves. Next up is, as I have referred to him in earlier videos, the angel sent from heaven descended into hell as a devil, John Marino. I've often said he is the best off-season signing that we've had, that we best off-season signing that we did during the off-season of last year. John Marino has played 22 games, 2 goals, 6 assists, 8 points. I do not even care about his offensive stats because defensively, he has been the rock on which this church has been built. Yes, that was a Bible reference. He has a plus 13 this season, and every single time that he is on the ice, he is contributing in a big way, whether that's throwing the body, whether that's breaking up plays, whether it's just his defensive IQ on the ice to read plays and diffuse situations has been huge for this Devils team so far. So John Marino, I'm loving what he does. Hashtag Norris candidate. I'm loving John Marino so far. Next up is Jonas Siegenthaler, who I genuinely believe may be a bit better than John Marino this season. I shit you not. Let's take a look at him. So Jonas Siegenthaler, again, hasn't been injured. 22 games played, 1 goal, 6 assists for 7 points this season. But that, again, I don't necessarily care about the goals and assists from defensemen. What do I care about? Plus, minus. And Jonas Siegenthaler is a plus 23. I will say it again. Plus 23 as a defenseman. He's so good. He's been so good this year. I don't know what Washington thought they were doing when they gave him to us, but he's been amazing this year. My only criticism is that he has taken 18 penalties. And I've said this in earlier videos. I am a little bit concerned with the amount of penalties that the Devils are taking, especially the last, I'd say, 6 or 7 games. It has been a little bit concerning for me. But again, plus 23. Hashtag Norris candidate, ladies and gentlemen. Next up, and this is where I settle down. Damon Severson. We need to have a talk. Damon Severson has played 22 games this season, 2 goals, 3 assists, 5 points, and he's a -2. He is a -2 on defense. On a team that is plus 32, plus 33 goal differential this season, you are a -2. Now, I am not going to pretend as if -2 is necessarily the worst thing in the world. But when you have a team that has been so offensively minded this season, is outscoring opponents like crazy. I cite you the Washington Capitals game, 5-1. 5-1. This is a guy who either can turn his season around and do a little bit better, or he's going to become a major liability down the stretch. Now, in earlier videos, I've talked about not trusting him as far as I can throw him, and I still stand by that. However, I think that Severson can become a legitimate trade option with value that we can give away. Now, the reason I say that is, one, Severson is probably our worst defenseman this season, in my personal opinion. However, there's been some talks that New Jersey wants to go after Josh Anderson from the Montreal Canadiens. If we were to make that trade happen, I think that Damon Severson should be in the conversation to go to Montreal. When you have guys like Luke Hughes coming up in the next year or two, Simon Nemec coming up in the next year or two, and an already really good defensive core, I think that he's a trade option that we can kind of look at closer to the trade deadline. But yeah, that's it for Severson. I have one other guy I want to talk about on defense, and that's Brendan Smith. Brendan Smith is 22 games played, no goals, 1 assist, 1 point, and he's a -1. and he has 23 penalties taken. I think Brendan Smith, while, again, from episode 1, I talked about how he brings physicality, he brings the body, which is good. However, if he continues the way he's been playing, where he's checking hard, but he's causing penalties to be called on him, he's going to become more of a liability than he is going to be a success for this Devils team. But yeah, that is our defense. So, that's the defense covered. Like I said, I think our two best defensemen so far are Jonas Siegenthaler, Dougie Hamilton, and John Marino. John Marino less for his plus-minus in points and more just for the way he kind of sees the game and is able to diffuse really nasty situations. So, let us continue. We're going to move on to our forwards. And once again, the big three are leading this team. That's Jack Hughes, Nico Hischier, and Jesper Bratt. The big three. So, let's start with Jack Hughes. Jack Hughes has played in 22 games this season, 11 goals, 14 assists for 25 points. So, he is a point-per-game player. He's had a plus-minus of 10, which is great. So, he's, exactly where he needs to be. And, if he continues on this pace, he's going to be hitting 40 goals this season, which is exactly where Jack Hughes needs to be hitting for someone of his caliber. And again, he's still growing. I don't think we've seen a cap on Jack Hughes or even Bratt and Hischier for that matter. They're still growing. They're going to get better every single year. Next up, Jesper Bratt. Jesper Bratt, 22 games played, 8 goals, 17 assists for 25 points. Exact amount of points as Jack Hughes. Again, he is a point-per-game player. He's hopefully going to hit, 100 points this season, just like Hughes. And Jesper Bratt is a plus 13 this season. Again, the plus-minus just keep going up as we go along. Next up, Nico Hischier. He has played in 21 games this season. He did miss the first game of the season. He has 10 goals, 14 assists for 24 points. Still a point-per-game player. But again, plus-minus, he's a plus 15. Nico Hischier has become the first-line center that I'd always dreamed he would become. He is our setup guy with Brett on the second line. You have him working really well with guys like Mercer, guys like Tatar, guys like Hughes, guys like Mercer when he gets a chance to play with them. And Nico Hischier has stepped up ever since you got to see this year, and he's really brought his game to the next level, and I'm so happy to see that. So, next up, as I was corrected, it's not Thomas Tatar. It is Tomas Tatar. So, Tatar has played in every game this year, 22 games played, 5 goals, 8 assists, 13 points, and a plus-minus of 16. He's taken 12 penalties, which is actually pretty good. If you think about it, it's 1 penalty every other game. For a guy like Tatar, who was physical around the puck, I'm glad he's keeping the penalty minutes down. But again, plus 16, 13 points. Again, I know I keep repeating myself, but he is exactly what we wanted out of him so far this season. When we traded for him, picked him up on the free agency. So Tomas Tatar has played really well so far this season. Next up, we're going to have identical numbers from Dawson Mercer. 22 games played, 5 goals, 8 assists, and 13 points with a plus-minus of 3. Now granted, he's still young. I think that Mercer can still kick it up to the next gear. I remember in my the first Devil's Den episode, Roster Unveiled, I talked about how I wanted to have Mercer have 30 goals this season. Now, obviously, I might be asking a lot, but as of right now, I think he's on pace for 20. If he can finish the season with 25 to 28, I'll be happy. But I still think his game can be kind of kicked up one more gear to really make him a viable threat. Again, the depth on this team has been great. One of the reasons for that is, players like Dawson Mercer. Speaking of depth and contributing where they can, we have Yegor Sharangovich, 22 games played, 6 goals, 6 assists, and 12 points. He's a plus minus of 1. Again, I want to see Sharangovich try to move his game up a little bit. I wanted him to have at least 20 goals a season. At this rate, it's looking like that's possible, even likely. So again, I just want to see, like Mercer, just step that game up a little bit more, and we'll see how he grows over the next, 2 seasons or so. Next up has been a pleasant surprise. Now, I'm not going to lie to you guys. I'm not, a hockey guru. I don't know all, see all, I'm aware of all. And one of the guys that I talked about in the first episode was a guy named Fabian Zetterlund. I did not know a whole lot about this guy. I have been super happy and super surprised with his impact on and off the ice. So Fabian Zetterlund has only played in 17 games this season. He has 4 goals, 7 assists for 11 points this season, and he's a plus minus of 12, which is fantastic. So Zetterlund's been playing mostly on the 4th line, though he has been known to get bumped up to the 3rd line from time to time. And this is one of our guys who I think is going to be one of these. I think he's going to be a player like Justin Williams when he played for the Kings. He's going to be a clutch player who may not get a lot of talk compared to guys like Hughes or Hischier or Bratt or even Mercer or Hamilton. But he's a guy that is going to contribute points from a grind line. He's fast, he's young, and again, for 17 games played, 11 points. I think he's going to be great. I think he's been a real surprise and a really nice addition for development for the Devils. Next up is Miles Wood. So, I want to have a frank conversation about Wood. So, Wood earlier in the season said that he does not want to play for a losing team, which I understand, right? If this team had played the way that they have the last 2 or 3 years, I would agree Wood would be like, no, I'm done. I can't do it anymore. However, Wood has played in 22 games this season, 6 goals, 4 assists for 10 points this season, and he's a plus 9. However, again, he's a depth player. He's a 3rd line player. He's physical. You're not hiring him to score a lot of goals. You're not hiring him to set up plays. You're hiring him because he's physical and he's hard to the puck. However, he is the guy who has the most penalties against him this season. He's had 35 minutes of penalty times. That's 15 to 17 penalties this season. I want to see him play a little bit more disciplined. There is hard checking, really aggressive play with being dirty and having calls made against you because of sloppy discipline. I understand that you want him to be hard to the puck. I get that. But he's got to do better staying out of the box. Next up is Michael McLeod. Again, depth guy, 22 games played, 2 goals, 8 assists, 10 points, plus 5. Again, grindy guy. He's trying to work his way up to that 3rd line, and he's been playing really, really well this season. For what you're kind of expecting him. Next up, I'm going to try to speed this up a little bit because we are at the, I believe, 19-minute mark. Next up is Erik Haula, 22 games, 1 goal, 8 assists, 9 points. He's a plus 7. Again, like Wood, he's hard, he's aggressive. He's hard. He's aggressive. He's really big guy that we need to kind of throw the body around. That's Haula. That's kind of his job. Next up is Ryan Graves. Ryan Graves. Nathan Bastian. Sorry, Graves is right above him. Nathan Bastian, who has been a leader on the power play, a leader on the penalty kill, especially the penalty kill. He has played so well. Forward, 21 games played, 3 goals, 5 assists, 8 points, plus 4 with 15 minutes in penalties, so about 7 or 8 penalties. He has really anchored our penalty kill and made it a huge success this year, which is amazing. Next up is Jesper Bogfest. 16 games played. He didn't play a whole lot this season yet. 3 goals, 1 assist, 4 points, plus 2, and he doesn't give up penalties. He's had 0 penalties called against him. Again, this is a guy that you can put on the third line and contribute to depth. I'm not even going to bother talking about Andre Palat, though he does have 3 goals this season, but he's only played in like 6 games. He's been injured for the most part. And I think the one guy who I had really big hopes for this season has kind of been a big letdown for me, although he's only played in 4 games, and that is Alexander Holtz. I said in the first video, and I think I'm going to have to walk it back a little bit, is I called Alexander Holtz the potential Semin to Ovechkin that I wanted him to be for Hughes and Hischier and Brett. Now, again, he's been in the minors for the most part. They're still developing him. I see what they're trying to do. They don't want to push him too early, have his progress and development get screwed over. But that is the way it is. So he's played 4 games, 1 goal, 1 point. He's a -2. What are you going to do, Alexander Holtz? Finally, last thing I want to talk about is our goalies this year. So I will start with our rising star, Vitek Vanacek. So Vanacek has played in 14 games this season. He started in 12, recovered in 2. He is 10-2-0 to start the season, with a 2.05 goals against average and a save percentage of .923. This is exactly what we needed in a potential backup, though he keeps playing the way he is, and he might just find himself in a starter position. Vitek Vanacek has been golden for us so far this season. I've loved every minute of him being in that, except for, the first game he played. But that's beside the point. We don't talk about those first 2 games. Next up is Mackenzie Blackwood. He has played in only 7 games this season. He is injured right now. He's played in 7 games, won 4, lost 2. A goals against average of 2.79, so almost 3 goals a game, and a save percentage of .880. If Mackenzie Blackwood is not careful, he is either going to get traded or he's going to be made the backup to Vitek Vanacek because he's just not playing the way he needs to. He's definitely been playing, before he got injured, he was definitely moving in the right direction and he was playing pretty well. But I think those first couple of games screwed him royally for his GAA and his save percentage this season. Next up is Akira Schmid, who is our AHL call-up, our third-string goaltender. He's playing backup to Vanacek right now. Akira Schmid has played in 4 games this season with, he started in 3, recovered in 1. He has not lost a game so far. He is 4-0 this season. His goals against average is 1.24 with a save percentage of .953. Now, I'm not going to put a lot of stock in his goals against average or his save percentage just yet, although he has played really, really solid goaltending, but he's only played in 4 games, so I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait, and I'm gonna see how he does in moving forward in the next couple of games. So that is Devils. That is the Devils team so far this season. We have played amazing hockey. We are tied for first in the league with Boston. So that's going to be it for me on this one, guys. And yeah, like I said, that'll be it for me. I will be posting this video the minute I can. Actually doing that right after this is done. But yeah, and I will see you later on tonight as we play our rivals across the Hudson, the New York Rangers. Let's go, Devils!